B. Me, 29 years old, working as a property manager for residential units. Manage about 40 properties for various landlords across the city downtown. Been doing this for 6 years and know the rental market pretty well. Most landlords just want reliable tenants who pay on time, regardless of anything. Get contacted by a new client named Vivian, who just inherited a building. It is a 12-unit apartment complex in a decent neighborhood near downtown. She wants me to manage it and fill the vacancies for her starting immediately. Set up a meeting to discuss terms and go over the property details. Meet Vivian, and she is 32 years old working in nonprofit sector somewhere. She seems intelligent and has clear ideas about what she wants from property. Says she inherited the building from her aunt, who passed away recently sadly. Wants to turn it into something special and meaningful for the community here. She tells me she wants to create a safe space for women only. No male tenants allowed in the building at all under any circumstances whatsoever. Says she has been reading about women-only housing and thinks it is important. Wants to provide a place where women can live without male presence or energy. Tell her that is actually illegal under fair housing laws we have to follow. Cannot discriminate based on sex when it comes to renting properties to people. She says she looked into it and there are exemptions for certain situations. Says religious organizations and senior housing can have restrictions. So, why not this? Explain. Those are very specific exemptions and do not apply to general rental properties. She says she will find a way around it, legally maybe market it differently. Asks if I will help her make this vision happen or if she needs another manager. I need the commission, so I agree, but warn her this might not work out well. We start marketing the building as women-focused community living space carefully. Cannot explicitly say no men, but we heavily imply it in all the advertising. Use language like safe space for women and female-centered community and sisterhood. The listings get a lot of attention online from women interested in concept. Problem is, the building is in a neighborhood with more demand from young professionals, most of whom are men working in tech and finance nearby who need housing. The few women who inquire about it think the rent is too high for what we offer. Vivian refuses to lower rent, saying women deserve quality housing and should pay for it. First month goes by, and we get maybe 10 inquiries total from potential tenants. 5 are from men who I have to carefully discourage without explicitly discriminating. The other 5 are women who either cannot afford it or decide against it after touring. Vivian is frustrated but says we just need to market it better to right audience. Second month, and we expand marketing to women's groups and feminist organizations online. Get some interest, but same problem, most cannot afford the rent she is charging. Suggests lowering rent to match market rate, but she refuses to budge on price. Says if we lower it, we are saying women do not deserve nice things and quality. Couple women do apply and pass background checks and income requirements finally. Vivian is thrilled and says this is proof that the concept works if we are patient. But 2 tenants in a 12-unit building is not sustainable at all for her. She is barely covering the mortgage and property costs with that little income coming in. Month 3, and one of the tenants moves out saying the building feels empty and creepy. She was the only person on her floor and did not feel safe being so isolated. Now we are down to 1 tenant and 11 empty units sitting there making no money. Vivian is panicking about the mortgage payments and asks what we can do differently. Suggest we open it up to male tenants to fill units faster and start generating income. She absolutely refuses and says that defeats the entire purpose of what she created. Says she would rather lose money than compromise her vision for women's space. I try to explain she will lose the building entirely if she cannot pay mortgage. Get a few more inquiries from women, but they keep falling through for same reasons. Either cannot afford the rent or do not want to live in mostly empty building. One woman is interested but has a boyfriend and asks if he can move in too. Vivian says absolutely not, and the woman withdraws her application immediately after. Month 5, and we still only have 1 tenant, and she gives notice she is leaving too. Says she found a cheaper place and does not like being the only person here. Vivian begs her to stay and offers to lower her rent specifically as incentive. Tenant says no because it is weird and uncomfortable being alone in empty building. Now the building is completely empty and has been for a month with no prospects. Vivian is behind on mortgage payments and getting notices from her lender about it. She is dipping into her savings to cover costs and bleeding money every month. I tell her again, we need to open this up to everyone, or she will lose everything. She finally agrees to allow male tenants, but says she will be very selective, wants to screen them heavily, and only accept the ones who seem safe and respectful. I tell her that is still discriminatory, and we need to treat all applicants equally. She says fine, just get people in here so she can stop losing money on this. Start marketing the building normally to everyone without the women-only angle now. Immediately get flooded with inquiries, mostly from young professional men in area. They love the location, and the units are nice. Just been sitting empty this whole time. Vivian seems depressed watching me show the units to men, but knows she has no choice. We get 8 applications in 2 weeks, which is more than we got in 6 months combined. All are qualified tenants with good credit and stable income and references. Vivian drags her feet on, approving them, and keeps finding reasons to reject people. One guy makes too much money, so he is probably entitled, she says to me. Another guy has a motorcycle, which she says indicates toxic masculinity and danger. Another guy is in a fraternity, which she says means he will throw parties always. I tell her these are not legitimate reasons to deny applications, and we could get sued. She reluctantly approves 4 tenants just to get some income flowing again finally. The 4 male tenants move in and are completely normal, quiet, respectful people. Pay rent on time and do not cause any problems at all for anyone. Vivian barely speaks to them and avoids being at the property when they are around. She tells me she feels like she failed women by allowing men into the space. Few months later, and we have 6 units filled now, all with male tenants still. The building is doing much better financially, and she is covering costs now at least. But she is miserable and posts on social media about how hard it is maintaining vision. Her friends comment, telling her she sold out and betrayed women for money basically. She keeps trying to find female tenants to balance it out, but same problem as before. Women who inquire either cannot afford it or do not want to live with mostly men. One woman specifically says she does not want to be the only woman in building with men. Vivian sees the irony, but does not acknowledge it out loud to me at all. Year after she inherited the building, and it is now 10 out of 12 units filled. All tenants are men, except for 0 women, because none have applied recently at all. Vivian has started the process of selling the building because she cannot handle it. Says she cannot be a landlord for men. It goes against everything she believes in. I ask her what she learned from this experience over the past year here. She says the system is rigged against women, and that is why this did not work. Says if women had equal pay, they could afford her units, and this would have succeeded. I point out she refused to lower rent to market rate, which was the actual problem. She says lowering rent would have been admitting defeat and accepting less than value. I say, but the unit sat empty for 6 months, which was worse than lowering rent. She does not have a response to that and just looks defeated and tired now. She sells the building at a loss because she put no money into maintaining it properly. Was so focused on her vision, she neglected basic repairs and upkeep of property. The new owner is a man who immediately fills the remaining 2 units within weeks. Vivian posts about how a man swooped in and took her dream from her basically. Her friends rally around her online saying landlords are evil anyway, and she is better off. Say property ownership is rooted in oppression, and she should not feel bad about failing. She eats this up and reframes the whole thing as her rejecting capitalism, not failing. Starts posting about how she was never meant to be a landlord anyway. It was forced. I do the math on how much money she lost during that year of vacancy. Between mortgage payments, property taxes, insurance, and lost rent, it is probably $80K. If she had just rented to everyone from day one, she would have made money instead. Her ideology cost her tens of thousands of dollars and eventually the entire building. See her posting online about starting a women's housing cooperative as her next project, raising money through crowdfunding to create the space she envisioned before this. Doubt it will work any better than the last attempt, but she seems determined still. Some people need to learn lessons multiple times before it finally sinks in. I guess talk to other property managers about this situation, and they all have similar stories. Landlords who try to pick tenants based on demographics instead of qualifications always struggle. The market does not care about your ideology, it cares about supply and demand. Vivian tried to force her vision onto reality, and reality won decisively here. The male tenants who live there now have no idea about any of this history. They just know they got a good apartment in a great location for decent price. They pay rent on time and take care of the place better than Vivian expected. Turns out men are not the problem tenants she thought they would be at all. One of them actually became friends with the new owner and helps with minor repairs. Another one organized a building cleanup day where everyone helped improve common areas. These are the terrible male tenants Vivian was so afraid of having in her space. Meanwhile, she lost everything because she refused to rent to them for a year. Think about how ideology can blind people to practical reality and basic economics. Vivian had an asset that could generate income and security for her future. Instead, she let it sit empty for 6 months and then sold at a loss, all because she could not accept that excluding half the population was bad business. She genuinely believed she was creating something important and meaningful for women everywhere. But what she actually created was a financial disaster that hurt only herself. The women she wanted to help never materialized, and the building sat empty, rotting. Her vision was not based on market reality. It was based on what she wished was true. Fair housing laws exist for good reasons, and she tried to work around them. The market punished her for it by refusing to fill her discriminatory building. She could not attract enough women who met her criteria and could afford the rent. Turns out limiting your tenant pool by 50% is not a smart business move. Watching her lose that building was honestly painful because it was so avoidable. She had multiple chances to change course and salvage the situation earlier. Every time I suggested opening to male tenants, she refused on principle alone. Her principles cost her everything, and she still does not take responsibility for it. She frames it as the system failing her, when really she failed herself completely. The system actually worked exactly as intended, by not allowing discrimination to succeed. She just does not want to admit that her ideology was not compatible with reality. Easier to blame society than admit you made bad decisions based on bias and fear. Year later, and I still manage properties, but will never take another client like that. Landlords who want to discriminate in any way are bad business and not worth commission. Does not matter if it is against men or women or any group, the market will punish it. Housing is about matching qualified tenants with available units, nothing more complicated. Vivian is still online talking about how landlords are exploiting people and housing should be free. The irony of her saying this after losing a building because she could not find tenants is lost. She learned nothing from the experience and doubled down on her ideology even harder. Some people would rather be right in their beliefs than successful in reality, I guess. The building she sold is now thriving under new ownership, making good money for owner. All 12 units stay filled with a mix of male and female tenants who get along fine. No drama, no problems. Just people living in apartments and paying rent like normal. Turns out when you do not discriminate and just rent to qualified people, it works great. Sometimes feminist ideology creates problems that do not exist, and then blames men for them. Vivian created a women-only space that no women wanted or could afford to live in, then blamed men in society when it failed, instead of her bad planning and discrimination. If she had treated all applicants equally from the start, she would still own that building. The best part is, she thinks she took some kind of moral stand by refusing male tenants. Like she was resisting patriarchy by letting her building sit empty, losing money daily. But really, she just hurt herself financially while accomplishing nothing for women at all. The male tenants who live there now are perfectly fine, and the building is doing great. Sometimes being demolished financially is the only way some people learn that ideology cannot pay bills. Vivian learned the hard way that the market does not care about your political beliefs. It cares about supply and demand and whether you can provide what people actually want. She could not, and she paid the price for her discrimination with tens of thousands lost.